My name is Melati Nugsari. I am a professor of economics at Asia School of Business. I study industrial organization, which is how businesses operate and how businesses set their prices. But I also study labor economics. So how do people enter the job market?
I'm Sam Flanders. I am an assistant professor of economics at Asia School of Business. And I'm also a researcher with the RYSE program.
Yes, I'm Pablo Egana del Sol. I'm professor at the Asia School of Business and member of the research team at the RYSE.
What we found is that there's not terribly many studies that focus on the B40 population, in particular in Malaysia, which is why I thought that this project could help fill in a lot of gaps. In particular, working with, kind of tracking the journey of a Malaysian underserved youth and seeing where they end up, how they end up, and how training can improve their lives.
I think that the research in Malaysia is a little bit limited right now. So there's a lot of research that's descriptive, that's just looking at, okay, here are some entrepreneurs, let's talk to them, let's see what's going on with them. But there's very little work done to see experimentally how do different types of entrepreneurship programs actually lead to different outcomes for entrepreneurs. So how do we actually get people to be more effective entrepreneurs?
I think the global economy is slowly slowing down. I think countries like Malaysia are not experiencing much economic growth. And I think because of that, we will see youth unemployment rates go up, particularly for lower income individuals. So we know from Bank Negara statistics, for example, the Malaysian Central Bank, that youth who come from lower income backgrounds are much more likely to be unemployed. So I thought that entrepreneurship could be a way for these youth to uplift themselves and to kind of be able to make an economic sustainable life without having to rely on other people and other businesses. And then the second reason why I started this is I think Malaysians in general are very entrepreneurial. I think a lot of people have a lot of business ideas, they want to start something up.
So I think with these sort of programs, there's two sides to it. So as an academic, the research side is that we had a lot of interesting questions we wanted to study with regards to how to improve entrepreneurship training. And from the perspective of the students, for the sort of social benefit we'd be providing, what we're really looking at is that in Malaysia, there is just this incredible well of mercantile or entrepreneurial intent where people really love to start businesses. Even people with full-time jobs usually have some sort of side business where they're selling kueh or all sorts of different little things. But oftentimes they don't have the skills or the opportunities to channel that into a profit-making enterprise.
I think it's very important for a country to develop, to generate a sort of culture that kind of incentivize entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, and innovation in general. I believe that there is a big role on education to kind of foster or shape the abilities and the motivation of the population.
And then speaking about data also, as we know in developing countries, data is very hard to come by. There's not very much publicly available data. So as sort of field researchers, we kind of have to go into the field and collect our own data because we don't have any sort of database, unlike other countries like the US, Australia, stuff like that.
In terms of research, we're looking at entrepreneurship training design. So we're looking at different ways of presenting an entrepreneurship program and how to sort of design a program to maximize the outcomes of the students. So to give the students the best possible outcomes, to help students start their own businesses and actually be successful.
From RYSE, it's both a platform for education, but also a platform for research for us. So we're planning to do research not only this first year, but also the next year and hopefully the next 10 years. So we're going to have a large history of different experience, different generation, different programs. We're going to start to be able to do some variation in the way that we provide education and be able to test if that kind of variation will help us to understand better the impact of the program, and in particular, what are the mechanisms of the impact of this program.
I feel like the challenge was figuring out, just learning more about this population and sort of understanding it in order to sort of create research questions that are targeted to what we want to study.
I would say the biggest challenge has just been the scale of the project. And probably the biggest challenge has just been managing that very large network of stakeholders, which is something that as academics, that's a challenge for us. That's something we've had to learn as we've gone through this process.
There's a lot of kind of challenge, I think, on motivation or attention, if you want, how you keep the motivation and attention of the student in the program, right? At the beginning, you have a lot of traction, and then there is kind of a plateau where like it's getting harder and harder to motivate them. Okay, but we saw on the past Sunday that they're still working hard. They're still doing very interesting.
So like I said before, with youth unemployment going up, with the economy slowing down, I think that one viable way for economic sustainability for the youth is through entrepreneurship. And I think that if we do it right, we can really help the students sort of bloom and flourish.
So I think that entrepreneurship is really important for the young, especially in Malaysia. So Malaysia has the most direct selling of any country in the world. The top make money, but the people at the bottom, they end up losing more money buying inventory than they actually make by selling. So what we're trying to do is help people direct their entrepreneurial intentions in a more productive way, in a way that's more likely to be rewarding for them and their family. So we're trying to get people to take the next step from just selling things to being an entrepreneur, to being creative, and thinking about how to put a twist on your product that will distinguish it from other sellers.
In general, people need to kind of learn how to learn. They need to kind of learn from past experience. They need to learn tools. They need to have experience, and they need to kind of learn from that experience in a good way.
No, I do not believe in that. I think I would be a very bad economist if I told you that I believed in the formula. I think that everybody has their own circumstances. We took the MIT Sloan curriculum and we had to adapt it to our population precisely because I don't think that the solutions that work for people in the West work for people in Malaysia. So I think that everybody's solution is different. I think we can give them sort of a framework, but I think it's up to them basically to figure out what works best.
So the best way to make a profit is to do something that is distinct from others, to offer something unique. And something else that's sort of relevant to RYSE is forming partnerships. That you really want to think, if you're starting a business, do I want to start it just by myself, or do I want to bring in other founding partners? Do I want to have a team of entrepreneurs that are all working together where we can pool our resources and pool our expertise? And to think very carefully about who you need on your team. So what sort of skills, what sort of people do you need in that founding team to make your idea work?
Yes, so I think there is no like a golden rule or a winning formula that I will say like, if you do this, you will be successful. It would be very hard to imagine a formula in that way. But what I do believe is you can teach certain methodologies that can improve the learning curve. Teach them how to think of a problem, kind of create some hypotheses, design some small experiments, and then kind of perform that experiments and iterate.
This is not an easy job. So for the RYSE showcase, we had the students pitch for funding in front of an unfamiliar crowd, under a bunch of lights. It was very stressful, I think, to do it, but I think they did a great job. And I never want them to feel like this is something that's easy. It's not. But like all things that are worth doing, you have to put in the effort and you get what you put back in. And you have to realize that the world is very big and to sort of dream outside the box, because I think one problem with a lot of Malaysian entrepreneurs is that they see their market, their target market for the customers as being only Malaysia. But why limit yourself to only Malaysia? A lot of the stuff they're selling can actually be marketed abroad, which I think they should be. So, dream big, but also at the same time work hard.
I just want to say we are so proud of all the students who've gone through this program. The RYSE program has been really inspiring. We've seen so many great projects ranging from really novel and exciting ideas that we think can be commercialized, so things that can potentially turn into a significant business, to just people putting interesting twists on a small business they were already going to open.
So I think that they need to be resilient. Okay, so it's very important. To be an entrepreneur, it's very hard. So it's something that comes with a lot of bitter feelings. But if they persevere, they will be able, I think, to fulfill many different objectives and challenges.
A very nice couch so I can take naps.
Kind of generic. I like the little kinetic sculptures where it goes back and forth, little balls, and you pull it up and then it bounces back and forth. I'd like to have that in my office.